There comes a moment, often in the stillness after she's gone, when you realize the real question isn't just how to get her back, but what your energy has been whispering to her all along. Because even when your lips are sealed, your energy speaks. And the truth is, most men have no idea what they're silently broadcasting. You might think silence makes you strong, but silence alone doesn't make you magnetic. It's the quality of your silence that shapes everything. In this video, I want to share what most men were never taught. Not just how to reconnect with her, but how to reconnect with yourself first. How to stop performing, stop chasing, and start embodying the kind of calm, grounded presence that makes her feel something she didn't expect to lose and doesn't know how to replace. This isn't about manipulation. It's not about clever lines or perfectly timed messages. It's about the quiet power of a man who no longer seeks validation, but lives from truth. Because when that shift happens, when your silence is no longer fueled by hope, but anchored in peace, everything about the dynamic changes. And yes, she'll feel it, long before she ever says a word. So if you're ready to understand the silent signals you're sending and how to transform your energy from tension to truth, start this journey now. Like this video, subscribe to Stoic Station, and let's walk this path together. Drop a 1 if you agree that energy never lies, or a 2 if you're not sure yet. I'd love to hear your take. Because what comes next might shift how you see the entire breakup. Let's begin. 1. She feels your energy. You might think you're being strong by staying silent, but silence alone isn't strength. It's the quality of your silence that speaks the loudest. Because even when your mouth says nothing, your energy carries the weight of everything left unsaid. She can feel it. Not through your words, but through the frequency you're giving off, the tension in your stillness, the quiet pull in your absence, the echo of something unresolved in the space you've left behind. You don't have to send a single message for her to know you're still holding on. She can feel the weight of your longing, the subtle ache of your waiting, the invisible hope that maybe she'll reach out first. That energy follows her. It lives in the pauses of her day, the second thoughts, the hesitations, the dreams she doesn't talk about. But it doesn't draw her in. It creates pressure. And when your silence feels like pressure, it makes her pull away even more. The truth most men miss is this: energy is never neutral. She doesn't just hear what you say, she feels who you are. And when your energy is rooted in fear, in scarcity, in a belief that says, "I'm not whole without her," it creates a tension that pushes her further. You can say nothing and still be begging. You can go quiet and still be chasing. But there's a moment, a quiet shift, when your silence starts to feel different. Not because you've given up on her, but because you've come back to yourself. Your silence no longer trembles. It stands. It no longer whispers, "I miss you." It declares, "I'm okay." That's when something powerful happens. Her instincts pick up the change. Her emotional radar senses the absence of need, and it disrupts her expectations. Suddenly, your energy no longer says, "I hope you come back." It says, "I'm not waiting anymore." And that stillness, that calm certainty, it gets her attention. Not because you played a game, but because you stopped playing one. She doesn't just miss you when you're gone. She feels who you're becoming without her. And when your silence stops asking for her and starts speaking for you, that's the moment she realizes something's changed. 2. She thought you'd wait. She walked away believing she could come back whenever she wanted, not because she was cruel, but because she thought she knew your rhythm. She assumed you'd stay emotionally parked, orbiting her absence, quietly holding space just in case she changed her mind. In her eyes, leaving wasn't a final goodbye. It was a temporary move, a test, a power shift she believed she controlled. Because the truth is, when someone thinks they can leave and you'll still be waiting, it means they were never afraid to lose you. They believe they still hold the script, that your love is on pause, not gone, and most men, without realizing it, prove that belief right. They linger in the shadows, they scroll her feed, they replay the last conversation, looking for clues, hoping for signs, and without saying a word, they send the message, "I'm still here." But something breaks that pattern the moment you choose differently. When you stop chasing, when you stop explaining, when you stop trying to fix what broke itself, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally started respecting yourself more than the idea of her, that's when everything shifts. That's when she feels the ground move beneath her feet. She expected you to wait. But you moved forward, not out of spite, not to make her jealous, but because the man you're becoming no longer fits inside the box she put you in. You're not living to be chosen anymore. You've already chosen yourself. And that choice carries a weight, one she can feel even from across the silence. Wanting her back doesn't make you magnetic. Becoming the man who no longer needs her does. That line isn't just a concept. It's an energetic reality. Women feel it. That pull they used to rely on, it's gone. And when she looks back, she doesn't see the man she left. She sees someone unfamiliar, someone stable, someone whole. And nothing stirs her curiosity more than that shift. The shift from being the man who once needed her validation to breathe, to the man who now breathes from clarity, from center, from peace. Not because she returned, but because he did. 3. She senses the shift. You might think silence is enough, that by going quiet, you're protecting your dignity, guarding your value, or showing her you're not chasing. But silence on its own isn't clarity, it's just an empty shell. What truly speaks isn't the silence itself, it's the energy beneath it. And if the story you're telling yourself is still, "She's gone, so I must not be enough," then no matter how still you are on the outside, that belief will leak into everything. She can feel it. Women are intuitive that way. They may not have the words to describe it, but they sense it. When your silence is full of longing, when it's heavy with unspoken doubt, when you're not really letting go, you're just waiting quietly, hoping she turns around. That's not strength, that's still need, and it shows. Every action you take, or don't take, is broadcasting who you believe you are. If you walk around carrying shame, she feels it in the way you hesitate to look forward. If you're doubting your worth, she hears it in your tone when you talk to others, even if she's not in the room. If your silence is built on fear, fear that no one will love you like she did, fear that you'll never matter that deeply again, then your silence doesn't pull her in. It warns her off. But something begins to shift when you stop trying to change her mind and start challenging your own. When you stop asking, "What did I do wrong?" and start asking, "Why did I believe I wasn't enough to begin with?" That's where real transformation begins, not in the waiting, not in the revenge, but in the quiet rewiring of who you believe you are. The moment you begin rewriting that belief, from "I wasn't enough" to "I'm already whole," your entire presence starts to evolve. It shows up in how you stand, in how you carry yourself, in how you speak with others, not with ego, but with calm certainty. You don't have to fake confidence anymore. You begin to live it, not for her, not to prove a point, but because you're finally seeing that your value never left when she did. That shift doesn't go unnoticed. She senses it, even if she can't explain it. Because suddenly, you're not chasing in silence anymore. You're not emotionally frozen in place. You've stopped waiting to be seen, and you've started showing up for yourself. That kind of inner shift disrupts everything she assumed about you. She thought you'd be stuck. She thought the breakup broke you, but what she sees now is someone who's still standing, not in defiance, but in truth. You don't need to send her a message, because you are the message, and the message she's receiving now is simple, unspoken, and undeniable. I've let go, and I'm still whole. That's what stirs her curiosity. That's what makes her rethink her assumptions, not because you said something clever, but because you became someone stronger. Letting go doesn't always look like walking away. Sometimes it looks like standing still, but with new weight in your step. Sometimes it's the way you no longer flinch at the memory of her name. Sometimes it's how you look in the mirror and no longer see the version of yourself who needed her to feel complete. And here's the paradox. When she senses that shift, when the energy of need is gone and the presence of peace has taken its place, she starts to feel the absence differently. It's no longer about whether you'll come back. It's about the realization that maybe you're no longer reachable in the way you once were, that she's no longer the center of your emotional world, that the man who once needed her to validate his worth has become the man who validates himself. That's when she feels the true loss, not just of the relationship, but of the role she played in your life. And sometimes that's what draws her back. But by then, something in you has changed so deeply that you're not sitting at the edge of hope anymore. You're anchored, you're clear, you're whole. And whether she comes back or not, that shift was never about her. It was always about you. About remembering who you were before the doubt. About reclaiming the part of you that was never missing, just waiting to be seen again. That's what she senses. That's what changes everything. For you've grown without her. There comes a moment when something shifts. Not outside of you, but within. You stop watching the door, hoping she'll walk back through it. You stop checking your phone for signs, scrolling through old messages for meaning, trying to decode what went wrong. And instead, for the first time in a long time, you start turning inward. You start asking a deeper question. Was I really living in alignment with the man I say I want to become? Because when the dust settles and the silence stretches long enough, you begin to realize this was never just about her. It was about you, the version of you who kept bending just to avoid tension, who kept breaking just to keep her close, who kept betraying his own values just to feel loved for a moment longer. And that version of you, he wasn't living, he was surviving. You start to see the patterns, not just what she did, but what you tolerated, not just where she left, but where you abandoned yourself long before she did. And in that clarity, something powerful is born. Not anger, not resentment, but responsibility. The kind that humbles you, the kind that invites growth. You catch yourself now in moments that once would have owned you. That impulse to reach out just to feel something. You pause. That need to prove you've changed just to earn a reaction. You breathe. That ache to be chosen again. You remember, you already chose yourself. And it's in that quiet awareness that you begin to grow into someone else. Someone not shaped by rejection, but refined by it. Someone who no longer needs closure because he's no longer trying to go backward. Someone who doesn't chase love because he's too busy becoming a man who lives in truth. You don't evolve to impress her. You evolve because you refuse to abandon yourself again. You grow without needing anyone to notice. And ironically, that's when they do, because the man you're becoming, stable, centered, no longer predictable, is not someone she can define anymore. You're not who she left. You're someone she never really met. Is this a mirror of something I still believe? That question keeps you grounded. Every time doubt creeps in, every time guilt whispers, every time nostalgia tries to pull you back into the past, you ask it, and when the answer is yes, you face it. Not to shame yourself, but to set yourself free. You're no longer reacting to her decisions. You're responding to your own growth. You're building a life that makes sense with or without her in it. And that life, it's not a performance, it's peace. You've grown without her, and now she has no idea who she's dealing with. 5. She comes back to strength. Letting go isn't loud. It doesn't always come with a grand gesture or a defiant goodbye. Sometimes it's quiet, almost invisible. It happens in the way you stop needing answers, in the way you stop checking who watched your stories, in the way your silence no longer carries hope. It just stands on its own. That's what real letting go looks like. It's soft, sober, steady, and it's not about pretending you don't care. It's about telling yourself the truth. Even if she never comes back, I'll be okay. That truth, when lived, not just spoken, changes everything, because it shifts the emotional gravity in the dynamic. You're no longer orbiting around her. You're no longer reacting to what she does or doesn't do. You're not pacing your healing around her decisions. You're centered now, grounded, and she can feel that. She might return, but not because you sent the perfect message, not because you triggered jealousy or stayed just close enough to get under her skin. She comes back when your silence stops trying to say something to her and simply becomes a reflection of who you've become. It's in the way you move forward without needing her to see it. It's the absence of desperation, the absence of tension. Your silence no longer pleads. It simply is. And that's what disrupts her expectations. She expected distance to feel like control. She expected silence to give her power. But now, all she feels is the weight of losing something she thought she could return to on her terms. You didn't punish her. You didn't manipulate the outcome. You didn't slam the door. You simply stopped standing in the doorway. That kind of energy doesn't beg. It doesn't negotiate for love. It doesn't need to be chosen. It already chose itself. And that's what gets her attention. Not because you wanted it, but because you no longer needed it. She feels the absence of pull, the absence of effort, the absence of the man who used to bend every piece of himself just to stay connected. And now, he's not bending anymore. He's rooted. You don't let go to teach her a lesson. You let go because carrying the story of what was kept you small. You let go because holding on to something broken was costing you the version of yourself you were meant to become. And it's in that space, where peace replaces performance, that she begins to feel the shift. She doesn't come back to the man she left. She comes back to the strength she never expected to lose. 6. You don't need her anymore. There's a moment, quiet, almost unnoticeable, when something in you shifts. The ache doesn't vanish, but it stops defining you. The thoughts about her still come, but they no longer control your day. You stop checking your phone in hopes of her name lighting up the screen. Not because you forced yourself to stop caring, but because you've finally remembered who you are without her. This is where freedom begins. Not because she came back, not because you moved on with someone else, but because you stopped believing she was the missing piece. You realized the emptiness you felt wasn't her absence. It was the disconnection from yourself. You were waiting to be completed by someone who walked away, when all along, your wholeness wasn't gone. It was buried under the weight of needing her to stay. You stopped chasing, because you've realized there's nothing outside of you that completes what's already whole within. That truth doesn't always arrive in a moment of clarity. Sometimes it shows up slowly, through stillness, through discipline, through the quiet act of showing up for yourself, day after day, without her name being the reason why. And then one day, something changes. She reaches out, maybe with a casual message, maybe through someone else, maybe just by liking a post you didn't even think twice about. She's looking for the man she left behind, the one who waited, the one who held out hope, the one who would have taken her back with open arms, no questions asked. But instead, she finds someone else. She finds a man who no longer flinches at her return, a man who doesn't need to rehearse his response, a man who's still kind, but no longer desperate, still open, but no longer available in the way he used to be. That difference, it's not bitterness, it's self-respect. It's not emotional distance, it's emotional maturity. And she feels it instantly, because that stillness you carry now, it doesn't come from strategy, it comes from growth. The space she used to occupy is no longer empty, it's filled with something far more powerful: presence, purpose, peace. And she can't quite place it, but it draws her in, not because you're trying to pull her back, but because you're no longer trying at all. By the time she returns, you've already let go of needing her to. You've stopped chasing a story that no longer fits. You're not holding space out of loyalty to what once was. You're creating space for who you've become. And in that space, you've found something deeper than longing. You've found yourself. And now, every ounce of strength, every decision made from stillness, every moment of quiet clarity, it's no longer for her. It's for you. 7. You chose yourself. At first, all your thoughts revolved around getting her back. You imagined what you'd say if she reached out, what you'd do differently, how you'd prove that you were worth a second chance. You replayed moments, clung to memories, and somewhere inside you believed that if she chose you again, everything would feel whole. But with time and pain, you began to see the truth. That desire to be chosen wasn't really about her. It was about the part of you that abandoned yourself long before she ever left. The part that molded to her moods, minimized your needs, and shrank in her presence just to avoid rocking the boat. The version of you that traded authenticity for approval, hoping love would be the reward. And then one quiet day, not out of anger, not out of pride, you stopped. You stopped asking what she wanted. You stopped wondering if she'd ever realize what she lost. And instead, you turned inward. You looked at the man in the mirror, the one who had twisted himself into someone else's idea of worthy, and you finally chose him. You don't need to be chosen. You already chose yourself. Those words aren't just a mantra, they are a return to center, a return to the version of you that no longer waits to be seen in someone else's eyes. You no longer live to earn a place in her life. You live to honor your place in your own. This was never about getting her back. That was the illusion. The truth? It was always about getting you back, the version of you that stands without apology, that speaks without fear, that walks, not waits. So when she returns, and many do, it won't be because of the silence you used to punish her. It won't be because of a carefully crafted plan. It will be because your stillness carries something it never had before: truth. You're not playing hard to get. You're not trying to be mysterious. You're just finally at peace. And that peace is louder than anything you could have said. She may reach for you again. She may offer the words you used to crave. But by then, something inside you has shifted so deeply that the longing is gone. Not because you stopped loving her, but because you stopped needing her to love you to feel complete. And in that quiet moment, when she's trying to find her way back in, you won't have to explain anything. Your silence will say what your heart already knows. I've already returned to the one who matters most, me. Most men think silence is the strategy, that if they say nothing long enough, she'll feel the void and come running back. But the truth is, your silence only works when it's backed by transformation, because what she truly responds to isn't the absence of your words, it's the presence of your energy. In this journey, I've told you what many won't. She doesn't return to the man she left. She returns when she no longer recognizes him in the best way. When the version of you that once waited, once chased, once begged for her attention, disappears. And in his place stands a man who no longer needs to be chosen, because he's already chosen himself. You see, it was never just about her leaving. It was about what her absence revealed. It showed you where you were still doubting yourself, where you were seeking external validation, where you were willing to betray your own values just to feel loved. But that pain, it became the spark. The silence became the mirror. And now, if you've listened closely, you've already felt it. The shift. That shift is subtle at first. It shows up in how you breathe, in how you speak, in how you no longer flinch when her name is mentioned. It shows up in the way you hold yourself, not with arrogance, but with unshakable calm. And that is what she feels before she ever says a word. Here's the life lesson. You can't fake self-worth. You either live from it, or you keep losing yourself trying to borrow it from someone else. The minute you stop trying to be enough for her and start being enough for yourself, that's when everything changes. And that's when she starts to wonder what she walked away from. So no, this was never about getting her back. This was always about getting you back. And now that you have, you finally see it clearly. You don't need her to return to feel whole, because you already came home to yourself. If this stirred something real in you, take a moment, breathe, and gently explore what's next, just below. This journey, it's yours. Go at your own pace. No rush, no pressure. And if you found value here, if something resonated, like this video, subscribe to Stoic Station and stay connected. I'll be back soon. Until then, stay steady, and above all, stay true to yourself.